Howdy everyone and welcome back to the Game Team, your definitive weekly video game news show. It has certainly been a week with lots of, we'll say not so positive news, but alas we got headlines on PlayStation shutting down Bluepoint Games, ports of Pokémon FireRed and LeafGreen, and Microsoft Gaming CEO and longtime head of Xbox Phil Spencer retiring with a huge leadership shakeup. With all that said, let's get straight into our stories. Slay the Spire 2 released a really awesome animated trailer to announce their early access release date. Set 1,000 years after the original, the sequel will now feature 4-player co-op, so players can fight their way through the roguelike deck builder with friends. Really excited to see Megacrit expanding on the premise, and it launches into early access on March 5th. Keeping with our indie games, Sad Cat Studios, the team behind Replace, announced that the game will have a small delay following feedback from their recent Steam demo. Now launching on April 14th, the 1-month delay is focused on ensuring that the vision everyone plays on day 1 is polished, stable, and true to their vision. Replaced is still one of my most anticipated games of the year, so I don't mind just waiting one more month. In a completely different sphere of news, Paramount has found its Amy Rose for Sonic the Hedgehog 4, with Kirsten Bell set to take on the iconic role, joining Ben Schwartz, Idris Elba, and Colleen O'Shaughnessy for the sequel. I think her voice is going to be absolutely perfect for Amy, especially with her past works. The movie is currently slated for a March 19th, 2027 release. Bungie is delaying the next major Destiny 2 update, Shadow and Order, by 3 months to June 2026. The update, which was expected in March and focuses largely on quality of life improvements like changes to raid and dungeon loot pools, is now arriving after what will be nearly 6 months without a meaningful update. The delay appears to stem from Bungie being all hands on decks for Marathon, leaving the Destiny team stretched very thin. The bigger concern is whether there will still be a player base to return to in June, especially with no clarity on when the next expansion is coming. Live service games seem kind of hard to run, don't they? But I think our next story will highlight that even better. Jason Schreier and Bloomberg reported this week that Sony is closing Bluepoint Games, the Austin-based studio acquired in 2021 and known for exceptional remasters like Shadow of the Colossus and the Demon's Souls remake. Bluepoint hadn't released a game since 2020 and was most recently assigned to a live service God of War project that was cancelled earlier in 2025. What's hard to wrap my head around is why a studio that is so clearly excelled at remasters and remakes was pushed towards a live service multiplayer game at all, especially when PlayStation has a massive backlog of classic titles that still aren't playable on modern hardware. This all feels like fallout from PlayStation's 12 live service games push at the start of the generation. So far, the only real success to come out of that initiative has been Helldivers 2, and even that could have been expected, as Arrowhead already had experience building that type of game with the original Helldivers. As we're seeing with Bungie right now, even studios with deep live service experiences can struggle to support multiple massive projects all at once. It's so important to note that developing a live service multiplayer game is not cheap. It's why we see so few MMOs get made. As much as leadership can say that they're devastated to see a talented team like Bluepoint shut down, that problem starts with them. It was simply mismanagement that got us here. My thoughts go out to everyone affected by the closure. Why don't we take a second to break up the not so positive PlayStation and Xbox news with some positive Nintendo announcements. Nintendo and Pokémon announced that ports of Pokémon FireRed and Pokémon LeafGreen, the Game Boy Advance remakes of the original games, will be making their way to Nintendo Switch. Unlike the other games available through Nintendo Switch Online, each game will be sold individually on the eShop for $20. While they do look to be just straight ports, it is expected that they will receive Pokémon Home support. The games will be available following next week's Pokémon Presents on February 27th, which will celebrate the 30th anniversary and most likely give us our first look at Generation 10. In some more news, Monolith Soft announced Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. For a $5 upgrade fee, players can get access to 4K 60fps support while docked and 1080p 60fps support while in handheld mode. The game, physical edition of the game will launch on April 16th for those who are interested in that. Super excited to finally get a Xenoblade game at 60 FPS. IGN was first to report that Phil Spencer, the CEO of Microsoft Gaming and a person who has been with Xbox since its inception in 2001, is retiring from the company. Since taking over in 2014, Spencer has helped steer the Xbox brand out of many pitfalls while also being behind the acquisitions of many studios, including the publishers of Bethesda and Activision Blizzard. He was also always very vocal about Xbox in the public light, never shying away from talking about the changing industry, especially in wanting to always bring together the most amount of players. In his place, Microsoft Core AI President Asha Sharma will take over, while Matt Booty will be promoted to Chief Content Officer at Xbox. IGN also reported that Sarah Bond, who was seen as Spencer's heir apparent, has left the company. A notable departure, as Bond has been a very public figure alongside Spencer and Booty. In the last couple of years, we've heard rumblings of Phil Spencer clashing with Microsoft leadership on needing to achieve certain goals that seemed nearly impossible, with these things being the main cause of games going multi-platform. Spencer said in an email that this was his decision, but it really does suck to lose such a vocal figure in the industry. He will stay on in an advisory role till the summer to support Sharma as she takes over as CEO of the division, though. In a message to the teams under her, she mentions 3 commitments: great games, the return of Xbox, and the future of play. She even recommits to Xbox being a console first. While that does sound good, being the former head of AI doesn't sound like a positive thing, but she does mention not wanting to flood the Xbox ecosystem with AI slop. That is literally her words. So maybe there is hope after all. I'll remain cautiously optimistic, especially as this is her current Twitter account. With all that said, congrats to Phil Spencer on the great career. Looking forward to seeing him interact with the industry post-retirement. To all the corporate heads and shareholders at Microsoft, and hell, even Sony, you should just take a look at how Nintendo runs the game business. That wraps up this week of TGP. The industry keeps on changing every week, but as long as we keep supporting video games in every kind of genre from developers big and small, I think it'll be alright. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss a thing. I've been your host, Brandon Alanis, and I'll see you all soon.